Welcome to this lecture on working with images in iBooks Author. iBooks Author offers a number of powerful features that allows you to add photos and other images to your book. Now, there are a number of ways to insert an image to your page, and we've done this already with the Statue of Liberty image, but let's do that again. I'm going to select this object and hit the delete key to delete it. And I'm going to just bring up my content window, and you can see that I have a folder called Images, and I have a number of images there that I can use. And I'm going to simply select this image from the Finder window and just drag it onto the page. And when I do that, it adds that image to my page. I'm going to delete that and show you another way that you can do this. You can go to the Insert menu and you can go ahead and select Choose and come to Images, and you can select the Statue of Liberty image that we have and insert it, and it'll insert that image for you. And the other way that you could insert images is by selecting the media panel. And when that brings up is your iPhoto, it gives you access to your iPhotos library. So right now I actually don't have any photos in this particular iPhoto library. But if you wanted to use photos that you've taken and you're organizing in iPhoto, you would be able to access them here. You could also access any movies that you have on your Mac, as well as any audio files. So we'll just go ahead and go back to dragging the image onto my page. Okay, so there's my image. Now once an image is added, and by the way, in my case I have a JPEG image that I'm inserting, but you can also insert PNG files and GIF or GIF formats as well. So now that the image is added to the page, we can position it on the page simply by selecting the image and then dragging it to the position that we want. So let's say maybe that's the position that I want this image to be at. I can also use some tools in iBooks Author to mask the photo. So a mask, you can think of it as a portal or a window that sits on top of your image. So I'll just go ahead and from the format bar, I'm going to click on this mask button, and you can see that it creates this little window here that I can manipulate, and I can move my image around. And even though my image is quite large, what you'll see in your book itself is just that window, just the mask. So if I want to modify that at any point, I can double click on it on the image. It'll bring up this interface that allows me to affect the zoom of the image, but I can also click to edit the mask as well. So if I edit the mask, I'll press that again. If I edit the mask, it lets me make that window as large or small as I want. Maybe this is the right size for me, and so that looks good. I'll hit enter, and you can see that it creates that mask for me. If I want to maybe move the Statue of Liberty, that image, within the mask, I can double click on the image, and now I can, and you can see where the selection handles are, right? The selection handles are on the image itself. If I click edit mask, the selection handles are on the mask itself. Right? So that's how you know whether you're going to be resizing or moving the picture around versus the mask. So let me just show you one other thing that we can do here. We can obviously resize this image by using the selection handles. So if I do that, I can resize the image. It keeps the same proportions as you're moving the image around, as you're resizing the image. But if you want to rotate the image, you can simply hold down the Command key, and you can see that the icon is actually changed. Might be hard to see, but instead of the resize icon, I actually have a rotate icon, and I can rotate this image freehand. Right? I can rotate it however I want. And you can see the mask, the wrapping actually is working quite nicely because all the white space is being taken up by text. So that may or may not be how I want things to go, but I just wanted to show you how to rotate the images that you bring into your iBooks Author projects. Now, another way that you can insert a mask if you don't have the format bar available, you can go to the format menu, you can go to image, and you can select mask. So right now, because I already have a mask, it actually shows me the unmask option. So I'll just go ahead and unmask it. And now let's try doing something a little bit more interesting. We can go back to the format menu, and go to image, and now I'm going to select mask with shape, and now I'm going to mask it with a star. And now I'm going to make this mask a little bit larger. So I'm just resizing the mask. So just remember that this is basically a window that's going to be sit on top of my image. So here's my mask that I've created. I'm going to move my image around. It needs to be zoomed in a little bit. Okay. And now you can see that I have a new mask that I've created. And I can manipulate this shape, right? So if I want to, for example, maybe have some more points, I can do that in this particular shape. Or if I want to change the way that the star looks, I can do that as well. And so that's all related to the properties that you have for the shape. But the important thing to take away is that you do have the ability to create masks, whether you're using a shape or you're just creating a rectangular mask over your image. Okay, now the other thing that you might want to do with your image is adjust the brightness and the contrast and other image attributes. So again, the way that you can access that very quickly is in the format bar. There's a slider icon that you can show the adjust image panel. And here we can adjust the brightness of the image, and you can see that it's just applying it to the image itself. Of course, the sharpness, the exposure. If you are lazy like me, you want to just hit the enhance key, you can do that, and it'll actually just apply the best results that it thinks it should be using based on its analysis of the image. So that may or may not work for you. I'll just go ahead and say that this is going to work. We can also access a lot of these same properties by using the graphics inspector. So the graphics inspector is part of the regular inspector. So again, if you don't see it, just click the inspector icon, bring up the inspector. The graphic inspector looks like this rectangle and the circle. So when you select that, you can see that you have some options available to you, things like the opacity of the image. If we double click on the image itself, you can see that we have some options for the stroke around the image, and we have the option to add a shadow. So it might be a little bit easier to see that if we unmask this image. So let's just unmask that image. Now we have our regular image back, and we'll put that right in the middle. And if we look at the stroke, this is the border around the image. So maybe we want to have interesting crayon type of border with maybe 20 points, and you can see that it creates this border. But there are also these picture frame styles that you can use. So if you wanted to be really particular about the way that these things look, you have the option of choosing a lot of these different really interesting styles. So you can have, even if you're just inserting a single image, it can add a lot of interest to it simply by choosing the right style for that image or in terms of the stroke. We can also add a shadow if we want. Now, if you would like to add a gallery of images to your page, we're going to be covering that topic in the section on widgets, so feel free to play that lecture right now. In the meantime, this concludes our lecture on working with images in iBooks Author.